The galaxy hadn't heard from Earth in 3 decades. Not a whisper. Not a distress signal. Nothing. After the collapse, humanity vanished into its own dust, and the stars moved on without them, forgetting, mocking, rewriting their legacy into failure. The other empires called it the Terran burnout. They said Earth cracked under pressure, too primitive to keep up with galactic evolution. But then Earth's battleship arrived, and the galaxy pissed itself. Aegis Prime didn't ask permission. It didn't come through trade lanes or diplomatic channels. It ripped a hole in subspace and dropped itself just outside the Cyrix expanse, like a curse made flesh. No flags, no warning, no escort, just a massive black behemoth stitched together with rage and technology no empire could trace. And at its helm stood Ronan Strix. He wasn't a hero, not by old Terran standards. He didn't smile. He didn't deliver speeches. He wore his scars like medals and spoke in clipped orders that felt like loaded weapons. The kind of man who'd watched Earth burn and promised it would never kneel again. "Report," he said, staring at the starfield from the bridge. 3 Zurvani fleets inbound. Kelkari ships moving to flank. Estimated firepower, sufficient to level 5 colony systems, replied Lieutenant Harrow. Ronan didn't blink. "But not enough to scratch us." "No, sir," Harrow confirmed. "They think we're bluffing." He almost laughed. The aliens thought Earth would crawl back, maybe beg, maybe offer up peace treaties like old times. But they didn't know what happened during those 30 lost years. They didn't know Earth had gone quiet, not because it was dead, but because it was preparing for revenge. Humanity had learned. When the galaxy enslaved their diplomats, Earth remembered. When the Zurvani vaporized Terran medical ships, by accident, Earth remembered. When the Galactic Council voted Earth out of its own orbit lanes and forced it to trade children for citizenship, Earth remembered. The empires laughed at Terran emotions. Rage, loyalty, guilt, love. They called them weaknesses. Ronan called them fuel. His crew waited, silent. They were ghosts in steel, raised in bunkers, trained under blackout domes, engineered for war with no politics, no compromises. Every one of them had lost something: family, a home, a future. And they all followed Ronan like he was the last god in the universe. A blinking alert broke the silence. An incoming hail. Zurvani Admiral Creel appeared on the bridge screen, reptilian skin stretched across bone, slitted eyes gleaming with arrogance. "This is Zurvani space," Creel sneered. "You will power down and identify, or be eradicated." Ronan leaned in close enough for Creel to see the scars on his face. "You already tried to eradicate us," he said flatly. "Didn't work." Creel's eyes narrowed. "You think one old Terran ship can challenge an empire?" Ronan's lip curled into the faintest smile. "Number, I know one ship is enough." He cut the transmission. Outside, the Zurvani ships opened fire. Plasma blasts rained down on Aegis Prime, each one capable of disintegrating a moon. None of them landed. The ship's nanoweave shielding ate the energy like candy, absorbing, converting, neutralizing. The alien gunners didn't even realize it until it was too late. "Fire," Ronan ordered. Just one word. The spinal rail cannon engaged. It wasn't plasma, it wasn't lasers. It was kinetic death, pure mass wrapped in physics Earth refused to share. The slug hit the Zurvani command ship mid-core. There was no fireball, no debris, just sudden, terrifying absence. The ship collapsed into itself, crumpling like a tin can before vanishing into a swirl of twisted space. The other fleet stopped moving. Ronan stood tall on the bridge, his eyes like storm clouds. "Transmit this," he said. "To all empires, all systems. Word for word." Harrow nodded. Ronan spoke. "Earth is not your colony. Earth is not your servant. Earth is not your grave. Yet. But keep coming, and we'll finish what we started, one empire at a time." The message was sent. In the next few minutes, 23 fleets withdrew from their borders. 3 planetary governors committed political suicide rather than answer for past atrocities. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, an alien emperor whispered the words everyone else was too afraid to say aloud. "Earth is back." The silence after the broadcast wasn't peace. It was fear. The Aegis Prime hovered like death over the Syrinx expanse, unmoving, unblinking, and radiating menace through every sensor pulse. No Terran ship had ever appeared on scans in this quadrant, until now. And the moment it did, half the galaxy scrambled to erase its fingerprints from every atrocity they'd ever committed against Earth. Ronan Strix stood at the center of it. He wasn't savoring the fear. He was measuring it. "Zervani have gone radio silent," Harrow muttered. 3 Kelkari planets just initiated full defense lockdown. Civilians herded underground. War Protocol Zeta-8. "They're scared," Ronan said without turning. "Good. They should be." The bridge of Aegis Prime was as silent as the grave. No one celebrated. No one cracked a smile. The ship wasn't designed for that. It was forged in the crucible of Earth's vengeance by hands that remembered chains, bombings, betrayals. Every system on board had a singular purpose: deliver retribution. Telemetry confirms the Virian Syndicate has begun evacuating all mining facilities in Sector 9 Gamma, Harrow added. "Looks like they think we're targeting resource hubs next." Ronan exhaled slowly. They remember what they did on Varga 6. That planet had once been Earth's farthest colony. Peaceful, agricultural, self-sustaining, until the Virian Syndicate discovered a rare mineral beneath its surface. Within a month, the people of Varga 6 were declared illegal settlers and burned alive in their homes. The Virian called it an automated military error. They received a fine. Earth received ash. Ronan remembered Varga 6 because his brother had died there, flesh peeled from bone in the heat of orbital fire. He was 12. Ronan was 20, too far away to stop it, too powerless to make them pay, until now. "Bring up nav," Ronan commanded. The star map bloomed in front of him, displaying dozens of red sectors, each one marked by Terran blood. Old wounds, forgotten genocides, places the rest of the galaxy had conveniently edited out of their history books. The world moved fast when it was convenient. But Earth didn't forget. "Target the Kelkari communication ring on Juno Theta," Ronan ordered. "No casualties." Just lights out. "Sending recon drones now," said Harrow. The Kelkari Order was infamous for hiding behind diplomacy. Tall, silver-skinned elites in flowing robes who spoke of peace, but operated the largest spy network in the galaxy. Their underground experiments on captured Terrans, especially children, were documented but never punished. One leaked image showed a boy's skull opened, brain attached to a neurosplicer, while he screamed into a translator. The Kelkari ambassador called it scientific advancement. No more. As the crew prepared for the next strike, Ronan stepped off the bridge and made his way toward the viewing deck. Not because he needed the view, but because he needed the space. He had changed. Everyone had. Once he'd believed Earth would rise through unity, through alliances. He had been part of the original Terran Outreach Corps, a diplomat, fluent in 5 galactic languages, trained to represent Earth among the stars. That ended the day he watched a Zervani delegate snap the neck of his Terran counterpart live on a broadcast and laugh. No consequences, no outcry, just ratings. After that, he joined the Black Vault program, Earth's secret retaliation initiative. He was no longer a diplomat. He was a weapon, and he was tired. He stood at the viewing deck, staring at the curved edge of the galaxy. The stars here seemed different, colder, like they were watching, judging, maybe even scared. Footsteps behind him. He didn't turn. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" It was Harrow. "You always do." Harrow came to stand beside him, eyes on the void. "This ship, it's a monster, and we're the ones holding the leash. We built it because no one else gave us a choice." "I know," Harrow said quietly. "But what if the leash snaps?" Ronan turned slowly. His voice was calm, low. "Then we bite the hand that fed us pain." Harrow didn't reply. He didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. They were both soldiers. No, survivors. Each one carried ghosts in their blood. Ronan tapped the reinforced glass. "We're not here to kill planets, just to remind them that we were never weak. We're not invaders, Harrow. We're the bill collectors." Back on the bridge, the recon drones returned. The Kelkari communication ring was vulnerable, lightly guarded, energy grid exposed. "No biological signatures detected," AI Unit GRY-4C reported. "Recommend EMP burst to disable entire ring with 0 casualties." "Do it!" The Aegis Prime's dorsal cannon hummed, releasing a silent electromagnetic pulse across a dozen kilometers. The ring darkened instantly. Thousands of Kelkari messages, tracking relays, and encrypted channels gone in a blink. Chaos bloomed behind Kelkari borders. Ronan turned to his crew. "Mark it. That's the difference between us and them. We destroy systems, not civilians. Let the galaxy see who the monsters really are." The message spread faster than light. Every intelligence hub lit up with the same headline: "Earth strikes back again. Kelkari paralyzed." The Virion Syndicate issued a public plea for diplomacy. Zervani broadcast a heavily edited statement claiming the destroyed flagship was sabotaged by rogue elements. The Galactic Council called for a summit. And Earth didn't respond, because Earth didn't ask anymore. On board, Ronan stared at the flashing comms panel, hundreds of incoming transmissions from alien diplomats, pleading for talks, promising reparations, offering apologies. He let them pile up, unanswered. They had 30 years to care. They had 30 years to act. Now they could wait. He tapped into a secure line. Only one person answered. A woman's voice. Sharp, cold. "You've started it." Ronan nodded. "I did." "They'll escalate." "I'm counting on it," she sighed. "What's the end game?" He looked out into the stars. "Balance." "You think that's what this is?" "Number not yet, but it's the only way we get there." He cut the transmission. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Ronan pulled out an old data pad. Scratched, faded. The last message from his brother. "They're coming. They said they want the land. Mom told me to hide. I don't want to. I want to fight. Like you." He closed his eyes, holding the pad to his forehead. This wasn't justice. Justice would have meant those responsible were already in the ground. This was vengeance with a long memory. A slow storm rolling through the stars. And Ronan Strix was just the beginning. The summit was called in desperation. Not unity, not diplomacy. Desperation. The Galactic Council hadn't gathered like this in over 60 years. Not since the Kuroth Plague wiped out an entire species. But now, they called an emergency session within hours of Earth's second strike. This time, Earth didn't show up. Ronan Strix didn't need their permission. He didn't need a seat at their table. The Aegis Prime was his reply. The Kelkari Order sent a full delegation, faces tight with forced grace, their psychic guards scanning the room for hidden thoughts. The Virion Syndicate arrived with their smug merchant princes, each one hiding behind layers of bribes and fake humility. The Zervani Dominion sent only one representative, War Priest Kral Zeth, a hulking brute in ceremonial armor, still stained with ash from the flagship Earth had destroyed. And they all asked the same question. What does Earth want? Back on the Aegis Prime, Ronan watched the summit from a private signal leak. They spoke in circles: sanctions, diplomacy, reparations. They danced around guilt like it wasn't soaked into their robes. No one dared admit what they'd done, because if they said it out loud, Earth would be justified in burning them all. "Zurvani proposing a ceasefire," Harrow said, reading the translated transmission, "offering shared tech access, defensive alliances. They're begging now." Ronan shook his head. "They want us to take a bribe and go back into the dirt." The crew remained silent. He could feel the eyes on him, not just his officers, but the AI, the security drones, even the walls. Aegis Prime was more than a ship. It was part living construct, built with symbiotic tech designed to bond with its captain's neural signatures. If Ronan had doubts, the ship would know. But Ronan didn't doubt. He had buried too many names, watched too many vids of Terran children being marched off-world. He remembered the planetary markets that once sold Terran bones as artifacts of primitive culture. He remembered watching the footage of his mother, spat on, stripped, and broadcast for entertainment after a Zurvani tribunal branded her a low-breed instigator. Now the Empires wanted peace? They'd had their chance. "Prepare next strike," Ronan said. "Target Virion Black Site on Alteris 3. They think we don't know it exists." Harrow raised an eyebrow. "That's off-grid intel, sir. Deep classified. How do we know it's accurate?" "Because I used to work there," Ronan replied coldly. The room froze. He'd never told them, not in detail. Some of the crew assumed he'd been in intelligence. Others knew his records had gaps, years scrubbed clean by Terran command. But none of them knew that after the massacre on Varga 6, after the Outreach Core collapsed, Ronan had been sold into a rehabilitation program by the Virion. For 3 years, he was a ghost locked underground, forced to help develop neural weapons for his captors, made to watch other humans tortured in cages as data points. He escaped by killing 7 guards and blowing the lab sky high. But Alteris 3 was rebuilt. Buried again, hidden behind Virion money and shielded from the public eye. It was time to unbury it. "Status on civilian presence?" Ronan asked. GRY-4C, the ship's AI, responded immediately. "Confirmed 0 life signs. All automated. Data labs only. Target clear." "Good. Ready the Graviton shatter missiles." He didn't care if they watched. He wanted them to. And they were watching. Across the galaxy, millions of beings were tuned into the Aegis Prime's movements. Entire sectors were now on alert. Border stations powered down, hoping to avoid notice. Pirate clans abandoned trade routes. Even bounty hunters started erasing Terran warrants off their networks. No one wanted to be caught standing in Earth's shadow. On Alteris 3, the surface was silent. Beneath it, 10 kilometers of reinforced bunkers hummed with forbidden experiments, cloning vats, neural suppression tanks, AI-assisted biological warfare designs, all outlawed by the Council, but tolerated because Earth was the only victim. The missile launched. There was no explosion on impact. Instead, the gravitational core activated half a second before it hit, collapsing the building inward with surgical precision, like a black hole in a jar. Every wire, server, and secret weapon folded into a singular point and vanished. No debris, no trace, just gone. Back on the bridge, Harrow exhaled. "Alteris 3 neutralized." Ronan nodded. "Transmit a message. Short. No encryption." He stepped forward and stared into the cam. "This is for every Terran child who screamed in your labs while you recorded it for data. We remember. We are not negotiating. Clean your hands while you still have fingers." The message was sent. That same night, 4 Virion board members were assassinated by their own security forces. Someone leaked a full database of crimes committed at Altaris 3. Mass protests erupted on neutral worlds. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council entered a full military lockdown against a single Earth ship. But it was already too late, because now the civilians were talking. Whispers spread. People remembered old Terran nurses, teachers, traders, those who had vanished after being deported. They remembered how kind they'd been, how they cried during trials, how they bled during the riots. And now they wondered, what if Earth hadn't been weak? What if it had simply been patient? Back aboard Aegis Prime, Ronan entered the memory chamber, the core of the ship, the spine, where neural patterns were stored. The room pulsed with dim blue light, quiet hums echoing off the walls. This is where he kept them. Names, faces, voices, thousands of them. Every Terran lost to Empire cruelty, uploaded into the ship's memory sanctum. Not as AIs, not as weapons, as witnesses. He walked past the holograms. A girl named Lena, 6 years old, died in a Kelkari airlock malfunction. A man named Decker, burned alive while chained in a labor camp, broadcast for sport. A diplomat named Aisha, his mother, executed in public, her screams mocked by a laughing crowd. He stopped at her projection. "Almost done, Mom," he whispered. "They'll remember you. I swear it." Behind him, the lights dimmed slightly. GRY-4C spoke softly. "New data incoming, Captain. The Zervani Dominion is massing 3 fleets in Sector 19C. Battle formations confirmed. No diplomatic transmission." Ronan stared into the eyes of his mother's hologram for a long second. Then he turned, eyes hard as steel. Finally. They were coming. 3 Zervani fleets, 49 warships in total, streaking through Sector 19C like daggers drawn in the void. Each ship was a monument to brutality. Long skeletal structures built for intimidation as much as destruction, with curved horned hulls and dark red plasma cores. No warning, no message, just heat signatures rising and weapons charging as they closed in on Aegis Prime's position. This wasn't defense. It was retaliation. "They're trying to provoke us," Harrow muttered, fingers flying over the console. "Full combat array, multiple energy types. They came loaded for everything." Ronan Strix stood at the command deck, perfectly still. No fear, no expression. Just that same unreadable calm, the kind that only came from someone who had already died once inside. "They want a war," he said. "We'll give them a funeral." The Zervani had always been the most vicious of the empires, not just powerful, but fanatical. They didn't just conquer species, they erased them. Eradication wasn't just a tactic, it was doctrine. Purity of evolution, they called it. Any race that didn't adapt to their hierarchy was deemed unworthy of survival. Earth had been their favorite punching bag, an emotional infestation, they once called humanity. Now they were sending their finest fleet to finish the extermination they'd started 30 years ago. Ronan leaned forward, eyes scanning the star map. "Upload their fleet data to Combat AI. Begin prediction mapping. Harrow, status on our countermeasures?" "All systems green. Gravimetric torpedoes online. EMP net charged. Prototype void burst ready, but, sir, we've never deployed it in real combat." That's about to change. A silence fell across the bridge. Every officer, every crew member understood what this moment meant. This wasn't a surgical strike. This wasn't about sending a message. This was war. Ronan keyed into the fleet-wide comms. Every soldier aboard Aegis Prime, from drone technicians to gunners to neural interface operators, heard his voice. "This is Ronan Strix, captain of Aegis Prime, survivor of the collapse, child of a forgotten Earth. Listen to me." The silence was electric. The Zervani think they know fear. They've made it policy. They've painted it into the sky with every world they burned. But they don't know ours. They don't know what it's like to be silent for 30 years, to carry graves in our blood, to burn with grief every second we breathe. They erased our history. He paused, breathing slowly. Now we erase theirs. The crew responded with quiet nods, some placing fingers on personal relics, old photographs, patches from families long lost, small pieces of a home that once existed. The countdown began. Zervani ships would be in firing range in 6 minutes. GRY-4C began plotting intercept trajectories. AI-assisted phasing fields began warming up, the ship's skin starting to shimmer as gravitational energy laced across its hull. Ronan stood still as a monument, watching the Zervani dots close in on the screen. "They won't stop with us," Harrow said quietly. "If we fall, they'll see it as proof that humanity was a fluke." "We're not a fluke," Ronan replied. "We're the consequence." Then the first shot was fired. A Zervani destroyer unleashed a wave of dark plasma, engineered to bypass standard shielding. It roared through space, painting a long arc of death toward Aegis Prime. But the battleship didn't flinch. The nanoweave hull shimmered, adapted, and absorbed the plasma like a sponge drinking water. The core systems flexed. No damage registered. Ronan's hand moved. "Return fire. Full barrage. No mercy." The Aegis Prime came to life. Gravimetric torpedoes launched from dorsal tubes, each one carrying mass compressed into molecular density. They didn't explode. They collapsed. One struck the center of a Zervani dreadnought. In an instant, the ship folded inward. Twisted metal, bone, fire, all sucked into a dense point before vanishing into nothing. Another fired. This one activated the prototype. A void burst, a swirling sphere of energy that fed on energy, ripping through shielding, draining reactors, leaving Zervani cruisers helpless as they spiraled dead into the abyss. Two ships collided in the chaos, trying to retreat. Both detonated, lighting up the black sky like twin stars dying together. But the Zervani didn't run. They charged. The war priest was among them. Kralzeth's ship, the Purifier, now pushing through wreckage with blood-colored engines burning. It fired a salvo of antimatter warheads directly toward Aegis Prime's core. "Brace!" Harrow yelled. The warheads detonated mid-approach, met by a newly activated defense, the pulse net. Ronan had commissioned it himself, a rapid-fire web of magnetized particles that caught energy blasts and redirected them in real time. The antimatter burst, scattered into harmless starlight. Ronan stared at the Purifier. "Target him." Harrow hesitated. "That ship's crew is biologically integrated with the core. Killing it means—" "I said target him." This wasn't the outreach corps anymore. No diplomacy, no hesitation. Not after what they'd done. The Aegis Prime locked on and fired. The final weapon was Ronan's most personal, the Hellspire cannon, reverse-engineered from stolen Zervani tech, amplified, altered, and perfected. The bolt tore across space, pure condensed emotion, not fire, not plasma, rage embedded in science. It howled across the void and struck the Purifier dead on. The ship erupted from the inside out, crimson light blooming from every seam as Zervani screams echoed across comms before the signal died. Then, silence. Of 49 ships, only 7 limped away, half of them aflame, some without propulsion, one slowly tearing itself apart. No counterattack followed. Zervani had never tasted loss like this, not in generations. On the bridge, a single alert chimed. A hail. From the Zervani capital. Ronan raised an eyebrow. "Put it on." A trembling face appeared, younger than expected. Eyes wide, scales pale, A sub-chancellor, maybe? Not military. Terran vessel, the alien stammered. You have made your point. We request a ceasefire, immediate, unconditional. Our council is willing to enter formal reparations discussions. Ronan leaned in, voice low. You want peace now? The alien swallowed. Yes, please. We will meet any terms. He didn't answer right away. He looked around his bridge, his family. Not by blood, but by fire. Every one of them had been broken by the galaxy and reforged by Earth's silence. He nodded once. Then kneel. The alien blinked. What? Ronan's eyes burned cold. Kneel, on your knees, on the floor. I want to see the Dominion bow. The sub-chancellor hesitated. Behind him, someone whispered. Others watched. Then, slowly, the alien dropped to his knees. The camera caught it. The galaxy saw it. The Zervani Dominion, the proudest, deadliest species in known space, bowed to a Terran. Ronan gave no speech, no victory cry. He just ended the transmission. The bridge fell silent again. Only Harrow spoke, voice barely above a whisper. They actually knelt. Ronan nodded. They all will. He turned and walked toward the memory chamber once again. The war wasn't over. But Earth had stopped whispering. And now, the galaxy would never stop listening. The galaxy was changing. Not gradually, not naturally, but violently. In the days following the Zervani's defeat, the balance of power across the known systems collapsed like brittle glass. Treaties dissolved. Borders were redrawn overnight. Planetary governors abandoned their thrones. Entire fleets vanished into deep space, and for the first time in 100 years, the term Terran was spoken with something dangerously close to reverence and fear. Every news channel buzzed with the same phrase, Earth is back. But not everyone welcomed it. Ronan Strix sat alone in the ship's strategic chamber, staring at the live map projection of the sector. Several red alerts blinked across it. Not incoming fire or enemy fleets, but disruptions. The Virian Syndicate was in full collapse. 3 of its trade colonies had declared independence and were now swearing allegiance to Earth's principles of retaliation. Civilian mobs overthrew security patrols and broadcast Ronan's speeches as declarations of their own. They weren't coordinated attacks. Just chaos in Earth's name. This wasn't what Ronan wanted. Harrow entered, eyes troubled. There's a growing movement forming on the outer ring systems, calling themselves the Ashborn. They claim to speak for Earth. Ronan didn't look away from the map. What do they want? More than retribution. They're talking eradication, mass cleansing of imperial species. They're not Terrans, Ronan. They're exiles, outlaws, old prisoners. They're using our flag? Harrow nodded. Worse, they're using your name. Ronan exhaled. Slowly. Angrily. Revenge was fire, but fire didn't obey its creator. Now it had leapt into the wild, igniting corners of the galaxy Earth had never even touched. Ronan had wanted justice, precision. He didn't want cults and warlords rising from his shadow. He turned to GRY-4C. Intercept every Ashborn transmission. Jam them. Then send this message. Anyone using Earth's name for genocide will be treated like any other threat. The AI responded instantly. Acknowledged. Message deployed in 12 sectors. But that didn't solve the core problem. The truth was spreading faster than he could contain it. That Earth had survived the collapse, that it had returned more advanced than any other race, that it had won, that one man aboard one ship had made entire empires kneel. And in a galaxy starved for power, legends grew faster than facts. Harrow stepped closer. You know they'll keep rising. People who want to wear your skin like armor, lead fake crusades, fly flags they never bled for. I know, Ronan muttered, And I'll put every one of them down myself if I have to. But his voice lacked certainty. For the first time, Ronan felt it, that creeping, cold doubt. The fear that the movement he'd sparked might not be controllable. That maybe Earth wasn't just feared again. Maybe it was being worshipped. He stood and exited the chamber, boots echoing down the quiet corridor as he made his way to the AI chamber, the ship's digital soul. Unlike the memory sanctum, which stored the dead, this room pulsed with light and thought, pure Terran innovation. AI minds born from post-collapse Earth, bound to human morality, grown from memory neurons. HFY-4C hovered as a blue orb in the center, humming with awareness. Ronan approached. "I need your analysis," he said, unfiltered. "On what subject?" "Me." The lights flickered slightly. That was hesitation. Even an AI could flinch at that question. HFY-4C spoke softly. "You are viewed by 76.4% of neutral systems as a revolutionary icon, by 19.8% as a potential tyrant, and by the remaining percentage as a messiah." Ronan closed his eyes. "And by you?" There was silence. Then, "I view you as necessary, and dangerously effective." He opened his eyes again, voice low. "Then tell me, where does it end?" "The moment you stop," the AI said, "or the moment someone stronger takes your place." There it was, the unspoken reality. If Ronan Strix didn't finish what he started, someone else would do it in his name, and it wouldn't be justice next time. It would be conquest. A fresh alert blinked in midair. Harrow's voice rang over comms. "Captain, we're receiving a proximity alert. Multiple vessels entering the sector. They're not using Empire frequencies." Ronan was already moving. "Pirates?" "No, sir. Unknown signatures. Non-standard tech. Looks Terran, but older." He reached the bridge within seconds, and then he saw it. The fleet. 8 ships, smaller than Aegis Prime, but unmistakably Terran. Rusted, heavily modified. Each one stitched together with parts from alien wreckage, surplus junk, and ancient Earth freighters. And at the center, a command cruiser with hull markings Ronan recognized instantly. "Holy hell!" Harrow breathed. That's the Oathkeeper, the original Black Vault prototype. That ship was lost during the collapse." A new voice crackled over the comms. Grainy, male. "Ronan Strix, you don't know me, but I damn well know you." The screen lit up. An older man appeared. Scarred face, thick beard, synthetic eye. Behind him, a tattered Terran flag flapped from a broken console. His voice was dry gravel. "My name is Commander Kane Ravis. I fought during the last years of the collapse, led one of the last surviving cells after Earth went silent. We've been hiding in the fringe, off every network, waiting for the moment to rise again." Ronan narrowed his eyes. "Your Black Vault?" "We were, but we evolved. Now we're the Terran sovereignty, and we have a message for you." Ronan didn't speak, just nodded. Rivas leaned in. "You've made Earth feared again. You've done what we only dreamed of. But you're holding back. You still think there's a line." "There is," Ronan replied. "And it matters?" Rivas chuckled, dark and bitter. "Not out here. Out here mercy gets you buried. We saw what those empires did. We survived it. And we're not coming back to rebuild Earth's image. We're coming to finish the purge." Ronan's face hardened. "You start burning civilian worlds, I'll bury you myself." "You think I'm afraid of you, Strix? You're just a spark. I'm the wildfire behind you." Then Rivas leaned back, and on the screen behind him, dozens more ships powered up, cloaked vessels decloaking one by one. He hadn't brought a squad. He'd brought an army. "We're not asking for permission," Rivas said. "We're claiming the right of blood. You can lead beside us, or you can be another relic." The feed cut. Silence fell. Harrow looked at Ronan. "Orders, sir?" But Ronan didn't answer right away. This was the crossroads. Earth had returned to take back its name. But now, the old Terran ghosts had crawled out of the abyss too, and they wanted something darker. Not balance, not justice. They wanted domination. Ronan stared at the flickering spot where Revis's face had been. "Prepare a meeting," he said quietly. "Face to face, neutral ground." "You think he'll agree?" "I don't care. We're not splitting Earth in two, not now." And deep in the ship, the memory chamber dimmed, as if the dead could sense what was coming. The war for Earth's revenge was ending. But the war for Earth's soul was just beginning. They met on neutral ground, a dead moon orbiting the dying star of Graxis 9. No atmosphere, no settlements, just black rock and silence. Ronan chose it for a reason. No distractions, no tricks, no chance of innocent blood being spilled if things went sideways. The shuttle landed with a whisper, Aegis Prime's AI-powered descent leaving no dust in its wake. The hatch hissed open, and Ronan stepped out into the harsh light of the red dwarf sun. His armor bore no markings, just a matte black finish, scarred at the edges. No medals, no banners, only purpose. Cain Revis was already waiting. He stood near a broken pillar of stone, arms crossed, flanked by two heavily augmented soldiers, both old Terrans like him, their bodies more machine than man. His beard had gone gray. His left eye glowed faint blue. His armor was battered, painted in streaks of faded red and silver, colors from the old Earth reclamation movement, long thought extinct. "Didn't think you'd actually come," Revis said, voice like rusted steel. "I don't run from ghosts," Ronan replied. They stared at each other. Both men were forged in the same fire. Both had watched Earth be humiliated, beaten, broken. Both had bled for a future that had never arrived. But now they stood on opposite edges of it. "You've made quite a name for yourself," Revis said. "The empires are trembling. Whole fleets vanishing from sectors before you even arrive. I watched your little broadcast. Zervani on his knees. That was beautiful." "It wasn't about beauty," Ronan said coldly. "It was about message." Revis chuckled. "We all send messages, Strix. You just prefer yours with polish. Me? I don't believe in half measures anymore." He stepped closer, eyes hard. "We've been hiding in the black for 30 years, watching Earth burn in history books, watching the species that killed our children write laws about order. We waited for someone strong enough to ignite the fire." Ronan stayed still. "And then," Revis continued, "you showed up. A ship like a goddamn omen. You did in weeks what we couldn't do in decades. You reminded the stars who we are." "You mean what we are," Ronan corrected. "We're survivors. That's why we came back." Revis grinned, sharp and bitter. "No, Ronan. You're still surviving. I'm done surviving. I'm ready to conquer." There it was, the rot at the root. "You think conquest will fix what happened?" Ronan asked. "You want to turn us into what we fought against?" "No," Revis said calmly. "I want to make sure we never have to fight again." He pointed up at the stars. "You think justice is enough? They'll never respect us, Ronan. Not really. They'll fear you now, sure. But give them a decade, maybe less. They'll come back. They always do, unless we break them. Not just the empires, everything. Rewrite the system. From the ashes up." Ronan shook his head slowly. "So you want genocide? Planet by planet?" "I want peace," Revis hissed. "Permanent peace, and you can't have that with old power still standing." Ronan's jaw tightened. "You're building an empire." "I'm building a shield." "No," Ronan snapped. "You're building a lie, one wrapped in Terran bones, and you want me to bless it." Revis took a step closer, voice quieter now. Dangerous. "I don't need your blessing. But you've got the name, the symbol. These people worship you, Strix. You say burn, they'll torch planets. You say peace, they'll disarm. You could end this in a heartbeat, or you could own it. I didn't come to rule. You don't get to decide that anymore. The words landed hard. Too hard. Because Ronan had seen it too. The shift in how people looked at him, how even his own crew waited on every word like it was scripture. He took a breath and stepped back. I came here for one reason. To tell you, if you march under my name again, if you kill in Earth's name without my order, I will treat you like any other threat. Rivas stared at him, expression unreadable. Even if it starts to work? He asked. Even if we bring them all to their knees? I don't want knees, Ronan said sharply. I want them to look us in the eye and know we earned it. Silence fell between them. The dying sun pulsed behind the dust. Finally, Rivas nodded. That's too bad. And he turned his back. Because the storm's already moving, Ronan. The Ashborn, that was only the beginning. There are hundreds of us. Thousands. We've been building fleets in the dark, and now we've got a symbol. You. You think you can stop it? You're welcome to try. He walked toward his shuttle, boots crunching on gravel. But you'd better hurry. The transport lifted off, and within seconds he was gone, vanishing into the black. Back aboard Aegis Prime, Ronan sat alone in his quarters, staring at the message Kane had sent before the meeting. A video file. It showed a small planet, a Virian border colony. Civilian, agricultural. Now, ash. Over the footage, Kane's voice echoed, "We call it purification. You'd call it necessary if you stopped pretending Earth still had a conscience." Ronan clenched his fists so hard his gloves creaked. He stood and entered the bridge. "Get me Harrow." The officer appeared within seconds, face tight. "I need a list," Ronan ordered. "Every world hit by the Ashborn, every attack made under our flag. I want to know where they are, who leads, what weapons. Start building a profile." "Sir, are we going to war with our own?" Ronan's eyes burned. "No," he said. "We're going to clean our house." That night he returned to the memory chamber. The holograms were still, quiet, watching. He walked to the image of his brother. "I brought fear to the monsters," Ronan whispered, "but I didn't see the ones following me. Not until now." He bowed his head. "I won't let them use your name. I won't let them turn your death into a banner for slaughter." Then he turned to the console and activated a new protocol. Internal targeting. Terran-based faction identified. Codename, Ashborn. Primary target, Commander Kane Rivas. Status, active. Ronan left the chamber, and somewhere in deep space, far from the stars that once mocked Earth, the Aegis Prime turned, not toward the empires, but toward the rebellion wearing Earth's skin, because vengeance had already been served. Now came the reckoning. The hunt began in silence. Not the silence of stealth, but the silence of resolve. Aegis Prime moved through the void like a blade without a sheath, sleek, black, and patient. No threats were issued, no warnings broadcast. Ronan Strix didn't announce his intentions to the stars anymore. He just pointed, and his ship followed. The Ashborn were everywhere now. 3 days after the meeting on Graxis 9, they hit a neutral station in Sector 42 Kappa. Civilian-operated, half-Terran-descended refugees. The Ashborn broadcast the attack live, declaring the station impure, its operators sympathizers of the old system. They torched it from orbit and signed the flames with Ronan's name. That was their greatest weapon. Not just ships or tech, but belief. The galaxy had seen Earth fall once. It had watched as humans begged for aid, as Earth was stripped bare, betrayed by treaties, and erased from relevance. Now Earth was power again, and too many broken, bitter souls clung to that return like it was holy, the Ashborn offered them something Ronan never did: permission to hate. "We rise not for peace," one transmission said, "but because we finally can. Because the only thing purer than pain is revenge. We do this in the name of Ronan Strix, and that was the final insult." On the bridge of Aegis Prime, the crew worked under the growing weight of unease. Hunting aliens was one thing, but now they were turning on those who bore the same blood, the same language, even the same scars. It made everything colder. "They've hit 6 colonies," Harrow reported, scrolling through the grim list. 3 neutral, 2 Virion, and 1 Zurvani border station. Civilians, mostly. No military retaliation so far. The Empires are watching us, waiting to see if we control this or not. "We will," Ronan said. He hadn't slept in 3 nights, hadn't even sat down in 2. He paced the bridge like a caged storm, eyes locked on the star map. "How close are we to the Ashborn fleet cluster?" 18 hours, Harrow said. "At current speed, we'll breach Sector 73 Zeta by morning. Reports say Kane Ravis is using a derelict moon base for command. Heavy defenses, repurposed Empire tech. Looks like they're preparing for something big." "They already started something big," Ronan muttered. "They just haven't seen the finish." He turned and walked toward the forward view panel. Outside, the stars shimmered, quiet and cold. Once, he used to look out and dream. Now he just calculated how many people could die in each direction. Am I losing what made me different from them? The question came without warning. It had been buried deep, ignored. But it surfaced now like an old wound reopening. The more enemies he crushed, the more systems he shattered, the more the line blurred between Ronan and the monsters he swore to bury. And yet there was no other way. Not anymore. Back in the command chamber, the AI GRY-4C processed new data streams, faint chatter on encrypted Terran comms, most of it raw ideology. "Earth does not apologize. Burn what burned us. The Aegis is coming. The worthy will follow." Worship and war had become indistinguishable. "We just picked up something strange," Harrow said, frowning. "A civilian transport fleeing Ashborn territory. Tattered, running silent, but broadcasting a short loop. Audio only." "Play it," Ronan said. Static crackled through the bridge. Then a trembling voice came on. A child, maybe 10 years old. "He's not like them. He tried to stop them. Please, if anyone can hear this. My father said Ronan Strix would come. He said he'd stop the fire." Silence fell. Harrow looked up. That voice, it's real. Verified signal. Came from a colony called Lendrix 3. Ashborn seized it 2 days ago. Rivas claimed it as a purification training ground. Ronan didn't speak. His fist curled slowly, blood rushing in his ears. "Plot a jump," he said. "Sir? I want us there in 6 hours. Push the core. Burn fuel if we have to." Harrow nodded. No hesitation. Because every single one of them knew what that transmission meant. Kane Ravis wasn't just building an army. He was building indoctrination centers, camps, factories of fanaticism, teaching children to kill in the name of a lie, in the name of Ronan. The moment Aegis Prime dropped out of warp above Lendrix 3, chaos met them. The Ashborn had no warning. They didn't think Ronan would strike his own. Their defense grid was uncoordinated, barely functional. Rivas had taken most of his main fleet deeper into the sector. Aegis didn't hesitate. Missiles hit hard and fast, knocking out the planetary shields within seconds. Ground turrets blinked off. Ashborn patrol ships scrambled, then scattered. Within 20 minutes, the sky belonged to Earth again. Ronan deployed his ground team personally. He didn't trust anyone else to walk into that nightmare. The camp was worse than expected. Rows of children in makeshift barracks, all dressed in black, all forced to watch constant propaganda, footage of Ronan destroying Zurvani fleets, edited speeches, distorted audio of him shouting "No mercy" on loop. They were given knives and told Earth had chosen them. Ronan walked through it like a ghost. He passed one room where kids had been made to memorize the names of Terran martyrs. If they forgot a name, they were whipped. Another room contained corpses, executed traitors, mostly adults who'd tried to escape, all under banners painted with his name. In the center barracks, a boy stood, barely 9, pale, wide-eyed. He stepped forward holding a broken knife, shaking. "You're him," he said. "You're the real Ronan." Ronan knelt in front of him. The boy's voice cracked. "They said you were coming, that you'd burn the weak." "No," Ronan said softly. "I came to save the weak." The boy started to cry. Later, when the children had been evacuated and the facility leveled with targeted charges, Ronan stood among the rubble. His armor was scratched, his face bruised from one of the cell fights, but he was still standing. Harrow approached, holding a recovered data pad. Rivas left a message. Ronan took it. The screen flickered, and Kane's face appeared once more. Recorded this time. Grim. Focused. "If you're watching this, you finally stepped off your throne. Good. The game's started now. You think this is horror? You should have seen what they did to my son, what they fed him in the Virion mines. You think you've seen suffering? You only saw the result, Ronan. I was forged in the cause. And if you want to stop me, you'd better be ready to kill every last believer. Because they don't love you. They need you." The feed cut. Ronan lowered the pad slowly. He stood among ashes now, and for the first time since Earth's return, he didn't feel strong. He felt haunted. The stars above Sector 77 Omicron were silent. They watched as Aegis Prime dropped from warp just beyond the dark edge of a dying nebula, its hull glowing faint blue from atmospheric entry, weapons cold but primed. This was no longer a mission. This was an ending. The Ashborn had gathered. Kane Rivas had called it the Cleansing, a final strike against the last of the galactic systems that had dared mock Earth. More than 300 ships now orbited the dead world of Ixar-2, including refitted Zurvani cruisers, stolen Kelkari carriers, and dozens of old Terran war relics. It wasn't just a fleet, it was a cult, and every single pilot, every soldier on that planet, wore Ronan Strix's face across their banners. He stood alone on the command deck, silent, still, watching them line up in formation like a grotesque reflection of Earth's new legacy. His crew had stopped questioning him. They knew this was personal now. Too personal. "Kane's transmission came through," Harrow said softly. "Uncoded, broadcast on open channel." Ronan gave a small nod. "Play it." The bridge dimmed, and the voice of Kane Rivas echoed across the ship, broadcast not just to Aegis Prime, but to the entire Ashborn Armada. "This is Kane Rivas, commander of the Ashborn Sovereignty, brother of the Terran Flame. To those aboard Aegis Prime, your captain was a soldier. He was a martyr, but he forgot what we bled for. He made the empires kneel, and then he asked them to stand again. He showed us how to fight, but I will show you how to win." The feed ended. Gry 4. C's calm, emotionless voice followed. "Ashborn ships powering weapons. Targeting range in 2 minutes." Ronan didn't blink. "Open wideband transmission," he ordered. The comm lights lit green. Ronan stepped forward and looked directly into the feed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. But somehow his words carried more weight than missiles ever could. "This is Ronan Strix, captain of Aegis Prime, son of Earth. I know what the galaxy did to us. I know what we lost, what they took. I saw it, too. I buried my family under a burned sky." He paused, letting that truth settle. "But revenge is a flame. It keeps you warm, until it burns your home down." He pointed to the Ashborn fleet on the display. "I didn't fight the empires so we could become them. I didn't rise from the ashes so we could choke the stars with new smoke. If you follow Riva's, then you follow extinction, not theirs. Ours." Silence. The crew didn't move. They barely breathed. Then Ronan added one more thing, softer now. Human. "You were right to be angry. You were right to fight. But don't fight like them. Fight like Earth." He cut the transmission. Outside, the Ashborn ships held position. The targeting arrays stayed hot. But they didn't fire. Not yet. Not until Coin Revis made his choice. "Signal from the surface," Harrow reported. "Revis is requesting personal contact, face-to-face." Ronan gave a grim smile. "Of course he is." The moon's surface was jagged and dark, covered in black glass from an ancient planetary bombardment. Kane stood near the ruins of a shattered comms tower, arms folded, armored in crimson, the Ashborn insignia, a skull wrapped in Terran vines, emblazoned across his chest. Ronan stepped out of his shuttle alone. No backup, no weapons, just his presence. They met halfway across the barren plain. Kane tilted his head. "Still playing the martyr, I see." "Still playing the warlord," Ronan said. "I offered you a throne," Kane growled. "You could have ruled every corner of the stars under your name. You could have made the galaxy bleed for what it did to us." "I came here to stop that bleeding," Ronan said coldly. "Not spread it." Kane stepped closer. "You saw what they did. You know what they'll do again. The empires are watching us, waiting for weakness. You want peace? They'll gut us the moment your back is turned." "I don't care what they want," Ronan replied. "I care what we become." Kane's face twisted with anger. "You think mercy will save us?" "No," Ronan said. "But maybe mercy will save what's left of us." For a moment, Kane hesitated. Just a flicker. Then he drew his sidearm. "I'm sorry, Ronan," he said quietly, "but you don't speak for Earth anymore." The gun fired, and Aegis Prime responded. The shot never reached Ronan. Mid-air, a kinetic shield snapped into existence, bending light and catching the blast like a spiderweb catching a fly. Then the sky lit up. The moment Kane fired, a hidden signal triggered, a failsafe Ronan had programmed into the Ashborn's stolen tech weeks ago. A virus, buried in comm relays, in stealth beacons. It spread like a whisper. Ashborn ships blinked out. One by one. Engines died. Power cores shut down. Systems went dark. Ronan had just pulled the plug. Kane stared at the sky, horrified. "No." Ronan stepped forward. "You thought I didn't plan for this? You thought I'd let you use my face to poison the stars?" Kane fell to his knees, hands trembling. "This was our chance." Ronan looked down at him. "This was your mistake." Kane raised the gun again, shaking, but he never got the chance. A single energy bolt struck his chest from orbit. Surgical, precise, non-lethal. He crumpled. Ronan turned and walked away, eyes on the stars, voice in his comms. "Secure Kane Revis. Extract survivors. Disarm every Ashborn ship. No deaths unless fired upon." "Acknowledged," Harrow responded. "Cleanup teams en route." As he reached his shuttle, Ronan looked back one last time. Kane Revis, once the fire behind Earth's rage, lay broken on the cold glass, surrounded by the ruins of a future built on hate. It took 5 days to dismantle the Ashborn network. Hundreds surrendered willingly once word spread that Ronan had personally deactivated their fleet. Others resisted. Some tried to self-destruct their ships. But the war was over, and Earth had survived it. On Aegis Prime, Ronan stood once again in the memory chamber. The faces of the lost surrounded him, his mother, his brother, the fallen children of Varga 6, the symbols that began this journey. But for the first time, he smiled. Not because it was over, but because it had meant something. "Rest now," he whispered. "We didn't become them." He turned to leave. As he stepped onto the bridge, Harrow looked up from his console. "Transmission from the Galactic Council. Put it through." A familiar face appeared, a Zurvani delegate, trembling slightly. "Captain Strix, the Council wishes to offer its formal apology and request your cooperation in drafting a new galactic charter." Ronan didn't smile. He just nodded. "I'll send terms." Months later, the galaxy was different. The Zurvani Dominion had signed a non-aggression pact. The Virian Syndicate was under new leadership, pro-Earth for the first time in history. The Kelkari Order opened reparations programs for former Terran colonies, and a new alliance had formed, the Terran Accord, a united defense and diplomacy pact led by Earth, open to any species willing to stand as equals, not rulers. Ronan Strix declined the title of High Commander. He preferred Captain. He still flew the Aegis Prime, still watched the stars. But now he didn't do it alone. Humanity wasn't feared anymore. It was respected. And sometimes, that was the harder victory.